Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Mel and today we're going to be talking about my SPFBO allocation, for lack of a better way to put it. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, SPFBO is the self-published fantasy blog off hosted by Mark Lawrence. It happens every year and this is the 9th year that it's going to be going on. There are 300 people that are able to submit their books, and then each of the 10 blogs or booktube or whatever gets 30 of those, and they can choose to kind of space them out however they want to. I will link Cassidy's video down below where she just recently announced all of us, and you'll be able to see the team that Cassidy has put together. But I will be helping her out in picking the semi-finalist, for which she will then pick the finalist for. And I'm so excited with my 30 books. The way that she did it was we got to kind of rank our top, the ones that we wanted the most, and then she tried to get it sectioned out to where we would get the books that we wanted. I will be having books that at least one other person has on their list as well, because it's going to be in 2 people's hands to give the book the best shot of being the most loved. So I have 10 books that I want to talk to you guys about, just kind of share with you what they're about and why I put them on my list as books that I wanted to read. I honestly have a really good list. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty awesome and I'm very excited about it. I will be reading you guys the synopses for these just simply because I do know what they're about because I chose them, but I've not like dug into them or read them yet, obviously. So let's just kick it off with Blood of the Lion by C.D. McKenna. This was the top on my list, one of the ones that I wanted the most. It does have a pretty decent amount of reviews on Goodreads. It's got a 4.58 with 50 reviews, which for self-published fantasy is a little bit harder to get. That's the whole point of this competition, is to get books exposure and get books into people's hands, let them know about it, because it's so hard if you don't have a big publishing company behind you to like get the word out and tell people that your book is awesome. This one I chose because the synopsis just sounded really cool. It says destiny is irrefutable and these 3 friends have something in common: death. The demon killer once responsible for the massacre has been found after being lost for centuries. Millions of lives fell victim to this treacherous relic, and now Sarah holds it. Torn from the sanctuary of her home, she must learn to live on the run in search of freedom, haunted by forces known and unknown. Fate can be cruel, and Mirai knows this firsthand. As the king and sole heir of his bloodline, he must hide the twisted truth of who he is becoming. But as the king slips further into his curse, war becomes inevitable, and he will have to make a choice that can undo everything he's worked for. Meanwhile, as chaos rages and fear grips the heart of all, the attention is then turned to the first dragon rider to rise in nearly 8 centuries. Everyone has a destiny. No one can be trusted, not even the gods. So this has got some buzzwords in it that I'm really excited about. Dragons, first of all, hello. We've got gods. I do like destiny when destiny is done well, but this synopsis just, first of all, was really well written, and that is something that really triggers, do I want to read this book or not, especially when we're talking about self-published, is how well is the synopsis written. This one grabbed me from the get-go. I thought that it was extremely intriguing. Like I said, it had a lot of buzzwords for me, and it's one of the ones that I am the most excited about. Next up, I had Pawn's Gambit by Rob J. Hayes. Rob J. Hayes has been in this competition a few times, and I have seen a few authors already doing the slight side-eye as to who's getting Hayes, is he making it in as a finalist, what's gonna happen? And I'm one of the 2 that has Hayes that could potentially move Pawn's Gambit in as a semi-finalist. Pawn's Gambit, of course, has the most amount of ratings that I've seen, but it's also been out a while and is a well-known author. It has 940 ratings and is a 4.21. It is part of a series, but not. It is a series of standalones, so they all can be read interchangeably, but they have one unique thread that ties them all together, and that is the techniques or the magic system essentially that is used throughout these stories. Pawn's Gambit, I think, is technically the 2nd one in the series, even though the rest have been submitted to SPFBO. I think Spirits of Vengeance was the 3rd or 4th one, and it was submitted last year. But this is a Japanese Asian inspired story, and this particular one is focusing on strategy. The gods have all come together and they have decided that it is time to elect a new ruler of the gods, and so there is a competition between the gods and their human champions to obtain all of these relics. The first one to get the relics wins for their god, and their god ascends to the throne. So I'm really excited about this one. I chose it because I know that I like Hayes' writing style. I really enjoyed Eska by him, and I did not finish Never Die, but I still wanted to revisit this Mortal Techniques world and see if maybe it was just Never Die. And Also game. Like, I love me a good game. I love me a good competition, and this definitely had that buzzword. Again, I like gods and meddling gods. I think that that's a really interesting thing to put in books. So this one definitely had a few buzzwords for me, and that's why I wanted to pick it up. Also has an audiobook, and I really like the narrator that was narrating this particular story. Next up, we have The Awakening Fire by Cassidy Filane. This one was actually gifted to me by the author a little while back, and I told her I didn't know when I was going to get to it, but that I was very excited for it. I think the cover is really cool, and that definitely drew my eye. And so when I saw this in our batch, I was like, man, I have got to have that book, because for one, I already own a physical copy of it, and I can help show it off. I know I'm not holding it up right now. I'm a bad booktuber. And for two, it sounded really, really interesting. The Awakening Fire only has 11 ratings, but it's actually a 4.64, which is a really high Goodreads rating. So this one just says, even though the ancients had been gone from the world for nearly 1,000 years, their law still holds sway over the minds of men. 3 men hold claim to the kingdom's empty throne, each jockeying for power with their own conflicting ideology. With unrest brewing among the citizenry, violence breaking out between the lords, and dark secrets kept just under the palace floors, can the kingdom of Ratal survive another war of the ancients? First of all, I want to know what these ancients are. That sounds really, really cool. Second of all, we've got dark secrets. It sounds like we've got some political scheming and maneuvering, so definitely interested in that. I love me a well-done political fantasy. Next up, we have An Inheritance of Ashen Blood, and this is by Jamie Edmondson. One of the higher number of ratings. An Inheritance of Ashen Blood has 56 ratings and is a 4.23, so it's pretty up there. This one, the cover definitely drew my eye. It is very bold and very bright. I actually was not realizing until Jonathan mentioned it that this has a dog on the cover, which automatically amps up my intrigue. Unless the dog's gonna die, and then it just like, I don't know. Dog doesn't need to die. Dog's gotta live. But it encourages me that if you're gonna put it on the cover, maybe he's a very integral part of the story. So that definitely caught my eye. This one is about sorcery dying out and nobody's missing it. Fear and despised in equal measure, Salk is only tolerated because he's the son of a powerful duke. But he's more important than he knows. When his life is threatened, he is forced to confront his true inheritance. For a new god has arrived. Unstoppable, the god brings only conquest and slavery. Sorcery is dying out, and now he needs a sorcerer more than ever. It sounds cool. It sounds unique and interesting. I'm hoping that it brings something new to the table. Definitely, synopsis drew me in. It's very straight to the point. It's very punchy, but it delivers a lot, and so I'm excited to get to this one. Then we have one that is co-authored, and this is City of Mages by Kirsten Mitchell and AJ Cerna. City of Mages has 19 ratings and is a 4.37 on Goodreads. This one sounded just really interesting from the synopsis. The cover definitely did draw my eye again with those bright colors, but I was interested in the fact that it is about fire mages, which sounded very cool to me. Born a fire mage and destined for something greater. For hundreds of years, Sombria has lived in peace thanks to the delicate balance of the council fosters between those with magic and those without. But unrest is brewing under the surface of Sombria, and the council's tenuous hold may be on the verge of collapsing. We've got two different characters, Quintini and Alara, and when Alara is given one final chance to prove she's worthy of being called a mage, the key to her success may lie with the untrusting Quintini. He doesn't plan on making things easy, though their two lives are going to come crashing together. Trusting each other may be the only choice they have to survive what's coming. Again, synopsis is extremely well written. It definitely drew me in, and so that's why I wanted to put this one on my list. Next up, we have Prince of the Fallen by M.H. Woodscourt. Prince of the Fallen actually has a decent amount of ratings. It has 46 ratings and is a 4.28. This one, again, was the synopsis that drew me in. I do like the cover on this one quite a lot, but the synopsis says, abandoned in the wilderness, Lechlor lives with ghosts and fallen gods until his effort to rescue a traveling princess and her entourage brings him into a civilization unlike anything he has ever known. He's caught in a net of skills and secrets, and the deviant faction of the Church of the Sun Gods, all thirsting for his blood. He just wants to find the man who deserted him until a storm rises out of the north, furious enough to destroy the city and the outlying lands. Now Lechlor must find the source of its wrath deep in the wilds of deadly lands beyond, and he can flee a city that won't let him escape. This one definitely got me with ghost and fallen gods, and then we also are bringing in kind of that religious sprinkling with the Church of the Sun Gods, and so I do like a well-done religious-based fantasy, and ghost, gods, again, those are buzzwords for me. They always draw me in, and so this one was a definite put on my list. Next up, we have Summoning and Sacrifice by Nathan Hartle. This one, again, the cover just got me. I'm shallow, sue me. But this actually did end up making our final 3 covers. It was quite a favorite of all of the judges in Cassidy's group. But I do think the synopsis was really intriguing as well. This one has a 4.36 on Goodreads. It does only have 11 ratings. It says, a hunted woman, a missing god, the adventure of a lifetime. All that Shada desires is peace and freedom. What she has is fear and hunger. She's a servant on the run from her cruel master who's determined to lock her away. Then comes the chance at a new life, for the gods have disappeared without a trace in the long ago age of legend, leaving the worlds of humans to chaos and war. Without its god, Ronia's once mighty empire is crumbling toward abyss. To save their people, she and her ragtag companions will journey to the ends of the universe, but first they must escape alive. So this one definitely drew me in with the city on the brink of turmoil. Again, gods are definitely a underlying theme that I'm seeing in a lot of my books. It does concern me just a little bit being a ragtag group, because ragtag groups either work really, really well for me or not at all. And usually that lies in, is there a lot of humor being forced into the group, or are they an unlikely group that is forced to get along? So we'll see how this one ends up, but I am quite intrigued by it, and fingers crossed. Next up, we have the Crystal Gunslinger by Oliver Laws. This one frightens me just a little bit because it is a Western, and Western is not normally my thing. But there are some other things in this that do sound really interesting, and so I'm still very, very hopeful for it. This one only has 5 ratings, but it does have a 4.8 out of those 5, which is quite good. The Warp Scorch is known as the most dangerous area on the continent of Lux for a reason. Ever since a strange meteor hit the land and transformed it into a crystal hellscape, all 4 bordering nations have been trying to establish a foothold in the extremely dangerous new territory and lay claim to its many treasures. Cyrus is a crystal gunslinger, one of the individuals that face the horrors of the Scorch on a daily basis in order to make a living. With his trusty ruby repeater and plenty of experience, he's prepared to deal with whatever challenges the strange creatures and deadly environments can throw at him. But Cyrus will soon learn that the true horrors of Scorch are much more human in nature, and no matter how hard he tries, escaping his past will be nearly impossible. So I am very curious about this Scorched land and what that is going to look like. I think that that can be done extremely well. Again, it is a little Western, which scares me, but I'm intrigued enough by the world that I'm hopeful it will surprise me and will still be a win. All right, down to the last 2. And next up we have A Sword of Three Rivers by Seth Hobbs. This one has a 4.35 on Goodreads and has 17 ratings. It does seem like an epic adventure story, but I'm still pretty intrigued by it. I think that it's going to be one of those adventure stories that hopefully I will enjoy. It is an epic journey in a forgotten time where empires rise and fall, helping or destroying smaller provinces along the way. Following the bloody and lusty adventures of young Boyver of the Woodlands, his destiny becomes entwined with the many colorful characters, beautiful vixens, kingdom politicians, priests, bankers, and terrifying warlords that he meets along the way. Along these quests, he must deal with the whims of gods, ancient prophecies, and the corruption of religious overlords to keep their secret. So this one does have some anti-buzzwords for me, I'm not gonna lie. Quest scares me, and we again have a ragtag group. There are whims of gods, and there are religious overlords, both of which I do tend to like, and so I'm hoping that I will still really enjoy this one. It was definitely those words that drew me in for this one and wanted to pick it for part of my group. Last but not least, we have Hearts Lost by Meredith Hart. This is the second and again a standalone companion type series. It has 36 ratings and a 4.42 on Goodreads. This one is much more of a fantasy romance, and I did not have any fantasy romance on my list of 10, even though we did have a pretty decent amount of fantasy romance in our group of 30. I don't know exactly throughout the whole competition what the ratio is of subgenres, but that definitely seemed to be a recurring theme in ours. This one says that our main character will do anything to free her sister from King Garth's court, even if it takes finding the land of monsters. In exchange for her sister's freedom, she has to enter the terrifying lands below and stop the monsters' attempts to bring down the barrier, keeping the 2 kingdoms separate. But stopping them ends up trapping her with a dangerous man in a place he calls the Void, and he claims those who enter the Void, twisting forest and shifting paths, rarely return. Still, she has an advantage that those previous travelers did not. She can communicate with shadow animals that so terrify her companion. Perhaps the 2 of them can survive long enough to find a way out. Shadow companions, shadow like animal companions sounds really cool. I do think that that's very interesting. I'm hoping we have a little bit of like grumpy badass type of situation going on, not like grumpy sunshine, but we'll see. Sounds like an interesting world and I'm ready to give it a try. Okay guys, so that is my group of 10. I will leave you guys up a nice pretty graphic of all of them together here. I honestly have an awesome list. There is not really any of these that I don't think that I have the potential to enjoy, and I'm very excited to get to these 10. I will, however, be picking ones that are not on my 10. I have quite the list of books that I still want to try that I'm not going to be like officially judging. I do think that I will do maybe like try a chapter tag of these at some point to narrow it down from like 30, yes, I said the words 30, down to like 10 or something that's more manageable. I have got just so many that I am interested in and I'm super, super excited for it. So keep your eyes peeled because all of these will be in a vlog, so you'll get my full in-depth thoughts along the way of what I think of them. And then at the end, I will be announcing what my semi-finalist is for Cassidy. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that vlog. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to be picking up any of these or any of the 30 that Cassidy's team has, or honestly, any of the ones that have been submitted into SPFBO9. I'm just so excited. Like, I literally cannot wait. This is gonna be so much fun. So if you don't know what SPFBO is, you don't care what SPFBO is, and you're just here for a good time, leave me a lion emoji for Blood of the Lion, which was the first book that we talked about here. So leave me a lion emoji. As always, links to my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads are all in the description box down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you wanna, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!